congregation has had a partnership with for several years now, the same organization that we went to Kenya with 3 years ago with the Container Project. So Life in Abundance in Jamaica is housed in what's a former retreat facility that was gifted to them many years ago. It's in the central Jamaican countryside near the town of Mandeville. It's high up on a hill, so the temperatures there are cooler, the rains are frequent, and the view is beautiful. The campus there contains an assembly hall with office space. It's a kitchen and dining hall. There are lodging halls and cabins similar to what you might think of in a church camp. And there's a few recreational spaces and several outbuildings. The facility is used by LAA for their own training seminars and mission groups like ours. And it's also used by outside groups and camps. Our hosts were very generous. I guess my voice seems to be more generous now. The food was good and plentiful, and our accommodations were simple but comfortable. This was our home base for the week, and we worked on the base there or we traveled into the surrounding communities. So one thing that stands out the most to me about the trip is how it changed my perspective. It's no surprise that experiencing life in a poor community makes you realize how many things that we take for granted here that others see as luxury, like air conditioning or indoor plumbing. But our experiences in Jamaica helped me change my perspective on what actually constitutes a luxury. We saw school buses designed for 20 passengers that were crammed full of 50 kids laboring down the roadway. And I realized that I should be grateful for the luxury of safety regulations. We spent a day with pickaxes and wheelbarrows trying to widen a community road. And I recognized the luxury of highway construction zones that snarl up traffic. We came across years' worth of trash in a field that we were trying to clear to plant a garden. And I gave thanks for the luxury of the garbage trucks that roll through my neighborhood every week. We spent hours building a small concrete pad because everything had to be done by hand, including hauling the water and stirring the cement on the ground. And I'm grateful for the luxury of idle time with nothing to do. Despite all the hardships, we met people of great faith and hope, two things that LAA encourages within the communities that they serve. I learned sometimes that faith and hope don't look like what I might expect. Faith might look like a piece of corrugated metal that slants down from a roof to divert rainwater into a collection bucket. And a surprising picture of hope turned out to be the many unfinished homes that we drove past on the road. You see, part of the home would be complete with colorful paint and decorations, and part of it would be roofless, bare concrete walls with steel bars sticking out of the top. So I asked our LIA hosts about this, and they explained that a homeowner would start by completing as much of his home as he could, perhaps a room or two. But he would plan ahead for a larger home by roughing out the walls and the reinforcing steel for the next room. So what appeared to me to be an abandoned project was to them hope for the future. It was just a matter of perspective. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to go on this trip. I'm grateful for the support of the congregation. I'm grateful for my Jamaica teammates, and I'm grateful for the work that Life in Abundance is doing.
As I reflect on my wonderful experiences in Jamaica, I keep going back to an event that made a lasting impression on me. The Sunday morning that we were there, we attended a church service in the Battersea community. This was the same place that we had assisted in preparing and planting the garden a couple of days before. At the service, there was a young boy. I guess maybe he was 12 years old. I don't know, I'm a terrible judge of age. He was supposed to sing a solo. However, when he stood before the congregation, he got stage fright. As he stood there unable to sing, a couple of people came up to him and showed their support. They talked to him, and they reassured him that he could do it. And after a time, with his mother singing along with him, he gained confidence and was able to sing. And he sang beautifully. And it didn't occur to me at the time, but now upon reflection, what happened at the church is kind of a metaphor for what is happening with these LIA projects in various communities. Before we went on the trip, I was unsure about what our mission really was supposed to be. I knew that I was going to do some physical work and that we would visit the communities, and somehow or another our presence would encourage them magically. I didn't exactly understand. But I felt there had to be more to it than that. The boy put a face on the mission. He gave meaning to the word encouragement and working with communities to improve the lives of those who were there. Without support and patience, the boy at the church service would no doubt have gone back to his seat discouraged and feeling bad about himself. Perhaps he would try again sometime. Certainly the Battersea community struggles with poverty and financial support is needed, but communities like Battersea also lack confidence to move forward even though they have the will and the ability. Maybe they need more encouragement and someone to work alongside them. I don't know if our having been there will make any difference, but I don't want to trivialize the efforts required by the community itself and organizations like LIA. But as I return from Jamaica, I'm not only honored to have worked with the Battersea community, but I also have hope that this community will eventually be able to sing solo.
I've got music with mine. Yeah, we'll see how it works. It's dangerous to do something live. So, for me, doing these trips, I went with Susan over to Kenya after the camp project, now to Jamaica. And for me, these trips are all about meeting people and getting to know their culture. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with this is Bob Marley and the Wailers. He is the man in Jamaica. He's a national hero. And I've been listening to this music since I was a teenager, and it resonates with me. Every time I listen to this music, I can listen to it 5 times a day, and it's still fresh. We had a Saturday project on site. All the adults had gone away to go to a funeral for the pastor that's in charge for the LIA community, and it was us kids left behind with the son of David and another young woman that did the cooking for us. And both of them were really into Bob Marley and the Wailers. So for me, it was a thrill to be able to share this music with them and work outside in Jamaica, listening to this music as a backdrop. It was a lot of fun. Another part of the trip that I really enjoyed, we went out to Battersea to help install a garden for an elderly couple that's out in the countryside. The countryside is beautiful in Jamaica. It's not quite as densely populated as what we experienced in Kisumu, Kenya. And there again, we had the opportunity to see families hanging out with one another while working on this garden. And I love children. Children are so cool. They're so fresh. They're so innocent. And I had an opportunity to encounter 2 little girls that were walking by. And I just reached out and I looked at them and I said, hi, in a kind of goofy way. And it just, we made a connection. They started talking with me. And I finally looked at them at the end of the conversation, the interaction, and I looked at them and said, do you understand English? it's not clear that they do. They speak their own language of patois, which is a derivative of English. And the one little girl looked at me and went, "No." Got me. So that was a lot of fun. Saw her on Friday, and then Sunday I saw her again at the church service that we attended. And it was really cool that she looked at me and went, "Hi." So I knew I had made some sort of connection with a young person in Jamaica. That was like the highlight of my trip there. But I also, the other point I would like to make is there's poverty in Jamaica, there's no doubt about it. I think Susan touched upon it. It was kind of like dispersed, more so than consumed, where it was concentrated and really in your face. Here the poverty was more dispersed, less obvious to me, but it still existed. And it reminded me, as Susan very eloquently said, how lucky we are to have all the things that we have in this country. It's really amazing how blessed we are. And to have an opportunity to go to a country like Jamaica and provide them with some level of encouragement is really a special thing. It's a special treat. And I would encourage anyone in the congregation, or if you want to do something like this, I think you'll find it to be of personal value to you in your spiritual growth. I know I do.
I just realized putting the sermon online is going to be difficult without music. We're probably getting copyright struck now for having that on. I had a good laugh when we were trying to decide what Sunday we were going to do this, and I finally did the lectionary math. The scripture for today was going to be this episode between Mary and Martha. Because as you gathered from what everyone else has said, we did a lot of work on this trip. In a lot of ways, it made us appreciate just how easy some of this work is made for us. Mixing cement by hand and carting the water to do so has really made me appreciate the beauty of the cement mixer. Much in the same way that clearing a road with a hoe and having to find a new stick to put the head on when it broke really made me appreciate the beauty of a backhoe. And so when reflecting on all of this, realizing, now we're going to talk about it on the Sunday where Jesus rebukes Martha for trying to get her sister to help her out with all of this housework, really made me chuckle, like we would be adding some sort of divine coda onto this experience. But then I remembered that right before this week and right before this lesson in Luke's Gospel, we have what we heard last Sunday, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And that certainly Martha would have been the one rushing to the roadside to help out this person in need. I mean, these two passages next to each other really capture for me what this trip brought to light, which is this balance, this tension for us as people of faith between reflecting, listening, praying, considering, and acting, doing, helping, and encouraging. This back and forth between reflection and action as these two poles in our life of faith. They're not easy things to balance for us. They weren't easy on this trip. Moments where we felt like all this work we were doing wasn't accomplishing much, surrounded by, even in comparison to Kenya, not as much, but still a massive amount of poverty, and thinking, what good is painting a wall going to do? What good is repairing a quarter-mile stretch of road, if even? It's just going to be taken back over by these plants in the next rainy season. And in the same way, listening to these stories, hearing from the people who live this reality day in and day out, and wondering, what are we to do with this? What can we manage? How are we to think and respond to this? This is the struggle of Christian life here in Jamaica, wherever we are. And I came away from this trip, and I think from what I heard from you all, and know from lots of our decompressing and reflecting and talking about this, that these are questions we were asking every day, and that we have a new life, sort of a new lease on these things by holding them together in tension with each other. These two poles, thinking and reflecting. And that's work that we can sort of think about and do in a sharper way by traveling, by seeing new context, by getting out of what is familiar to us. But it's also work that we can do here and now as a community, thinking and reflecting, acting together, finding out how to balance these two aspects of our life of faith. So I am very grateful for the opportunity that you all made possible for us to go on this trip, and me especially, to be able to be part of this team. It's something that showed up in my essays I had to write immediately before going, and talking about after, and it's something I'm going to be thinking about well into my future ministry here and elsewhere. So I think unless...
We have some pictures that we can show you from the trip. I'll turn off some lights.
So yeah, now some pictures. It's a slideshow.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate the help that this congregation gave us allowing us to go.
We could, while the slideshow, oh, it's up, hey, there we go. Were we going to add commentary to this, or we're just going to let it run?
That's the LIA site. There's some more of it. It's a beautiful location. It was on top of the hill, so we had this panoramic view of the Jamaican countryside. And on a clear day, you could actually see the ocean from this location. In that direction, actually. Yeah. And here's some more of the buildings. That's the office for the staff later on. Here's the concrete pad work. Our host mixed his cement, which was the back-breaking part of the job, and we hauled it and put it in the frame. Got good and dirty.
Even got the God's Love shirt in there.
Yeah. Almost complete. We had to get another bag of cement and complete the job at the end. Here's the road work down, slightly down the hill from the entrance to LIA. We were asked to widen the road. The weeds and soil had infiltrated onto the road surface. We wanted to be able to pass one another safely. This is a carpet ball game that we played almost every day. This is the Battersea area. This is a fairly typical house in that region. You can see that there is open country, so there are resources available to the people to do animal husbandry and plant gardens and such for the season. This is David in the church, in the t-shirt facing us, Luther driver. There's the wall that we painted that's at the entrance to the LIA compound. And David's son is in these pictures. There he is. Very nice young man. This is the van that we drove all over the place. Make a comment about the roads in Kenya. Oh my God. You said that often because they're just windy, twisty roads that are relentless. Hours of windy, twisty roads. This is the church in Battersea. We attended. Here's a young man Ken was talking about that had to be talked into singing. There's a little girl that I had an opportunity to interact with one day. She was and this was the typical meal. They piled our plates full every day, 3 times a day. It was incredible. And we had a chance to have some fun on Monday. We went to a place called Dunn's Rivers Falls. Very popular tourist attraction. A lot of people there, cruise ships and such. That was Miles and Ken. And Susan's going to wave to us pretty soon. Took a dunk at the falls. The water was delightful. Hot day, that was really pleasant. And thank you. I also want to express my gratitude to everybody for helping support us to get down there. It was a really wonderful trip.
Were you the only volunteers down there at that time? Or were there other groups?
Yeah, we were the only ones there at the time. Yeah. And we worked very closely with the staff.
Good. I know as we were able, we're going to try to stick around after worship today to answer any questions you might have in particulars like that. So find us over a cup of coffee after worship. Again, thank you all so much for your support.